Come on in, folks. Come on in. Let's have the show that we deserve, shall we? Yes, we shall. Let's have the show that we deserve. The show that we deserve. Just taking a second to go live on LinkedIn. And we're live on LinkedIn. Now, god damn it. Now I'm gonna message people on WhatsApp. 188th episode of Thinker's Frequency. 188th episode. There goes the message to people on WhatsApp. And now we're all set. We're all set, folks. Message delivered. Yes. Oh, God damn it. Oh, God. Oh, man. This whole thing, it is a bit of an issue, right? So, come on in. Come on in, folks. Let me check my audio. So, come. It's good on YouTube. Good on LinkedIn. So, we shall begin. The show that we deserve. The show that we deserve. Cannot take a break. It's so good. It sets us up in the morning, inspires us, informs us. Very necessary. Bum bum bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum bum bum. Bum 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 bum. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Thinker's Frequency. We're having such a good time. This is the peak of human civilization. We're working so hard, doing such good work for ourselves, our parents, our kids, our siblings, our husbands, our wives, our friends, everybody. And not other people's husbands and wives, I hope. And just when we thought things couldn't get any better, like they couldn't possibly get any better, well, they just did. Call it divine intervention, folks, but things just got a whole lot better. Now we have Thinker's Frequency, our daily mental workout, our daily dose of insights and analysis which don't lead to paralysis right before we punch in. So let's continue with our journey of reading between the lines, things that are especially interesting and important in the world of business and finance. Let's go! Oh, but before we go, you gotta follow tradition, right? You know the tradition. You know the sweet and sacred tradition of the simultaneous sip. We'll all sip something together and it'll bring us good luck, as it always does without fail every day. And all you need for the simultaneous sip is a copper mug, a glass, a tank, a chalice, a stein, a canteen jug, a flask, or a vessel of any kind. Pour it with your favorite liquid. I like some hot water with black pepper in it. And here we go. My God. So beautiful. Let's do it again. Man, lovely. Lovely. You know what the simultaneous sip says, right? You know what it says? It says that we are not alone. It says that we are in this together. That's such a beautiful thing to say. With that out of the way, let's begin. A lot of things happening in the world of geopolitics. If not geopolitics, let's call it international trade. Did you know that China's trade surplus has climbed past $1 trillion for the first time? $1 trillion for the first time. In the first 11 months, they've crossed $1 trillion in exports surplus. right? This is despite all the trade wars that are supposedly getting unleashed on China. This is despite all the tariffs that have been imposed on China by US. This is despite France's uh, displeasure on the Chinese economic hegemony. This is despite everything. This is despite Europe finding out that they've lost all ground to China when it comes to manufacturing uh, and economic control. Despite everything, despite India rising as a manufacturing unit, China is doing 1 trillion plus profits in a year, more than 1 trillion plus, you know, because of its exports. So if you remember, I've always been calling out people who've been talking about Chinese fragility, the Chinese economic fragility. I've always said that those people don't know heads from tails. We should never listen to those guys because they clearly have no ideas, right? Why did I say that? It's because of this, right? A country which is profiting to that degree and in such a predictable manner is not fragile. It's not fragile. That's the beauty of it, right? Uh, a second measure of its fragility is the debt to GDP ratio. What is China's external debt to GDP ratio? Not the debt to GDP, external debt to GDP, because That's what matters the most, right? Can you guess? We viewers of Thinkers Frequency obviously know China's external debt to GDP ratio, but can you guess, folks? Can you answer? Debt to GDP external as a percentage of China, India, US. Let's go. We've talked about this. We've talked about this, so you know it. Huh? India, China, and US. Guess. We've talked about this, so I expect a very quick answer. Right? I'm sure you will give it to me. Nobody? Nobody. Let me take a sip. I'll take a sip. China's external debt to GDP ratio, folks. Come on. We've talked about this. It's 12%. 12, 13, somewhere in that range. What is India's debt to GDP ratio? External. It's about 18%, 18, 19. What is America's debt to GDP ratio? External. It's 93%. And still, despite such paper napkin math available, right, people have been gunning for China's economic slowdown, or let's say crash, since 21 years, including the Nobel laureate Paul Krugman, right? To those people, this is the result, folks. Exports jumped 5.9% in November, rebounding from a surprise drop and far outpacing the 1.9% rise in imports. 1.9% rise in imports. Despite everything, this is only going to get better as US essentially fixes the tariff situation for China. It gets better for China, right? Till then. So how did it manage? European markets and African markets essentially did the trick. And then, of course, they rerouted a lot of their stuff, right? So that's what's happening. Speaking of international conflicts or trade or something of that sort, Paramount is coming back with a bid for Warner Brothers, right? As we discussed yesterday, Netflix essentially placed an $82 billion bid for uh, Warner Brothers. They did really well because how they clinched the deal was that they had a $5.8 billion breakup fee, right? And they didn't want the TV assets, they just wanted a special chunk of their valuable assets, and those they valued at $82 billion. Paramount, which is essentially owned by Mr. Larry Ellison's son, Mr. David Ellison, they've come back with a $30 bid, right? So $108 billion is what they're valuing Warner Brothers, all the assets combined. They say this deal is going to be better. Shareholders deserve a chance to have a better offer. Netflix offer is going to hurt them in different ways because a lot of different companies will find it very hard to absorb that offer, right? A streaming giant eating up the theatrical play. It's going to have a lot of regulatory pushback, not just in America, but across the world. So instead of that, they have this offer. So this is a hostile takeover kind of a situation. Very interesting. It'll honestly be better for for Warner Brothers to get taken over by Paramount, right? Because Paramount is owned by David Ellison, as I mentioned. He's very pro-Trump right now, right? So all of those assets will go there. Trump has stepped in. He said he's going to take a look at that deal, right? There's a lot of issues with that deal. He was talking about Netflix and so on and so forth. So this will be an easier way for Warner Brothers to, first of all, get better value, not leave any chunk behind, and then go through a deal which has higher chances of fruition. So let's see what happens. And it's also going to be good for the theatrical industry because theaters are very scared on what happens to them if Warner Brothers gets acquired by Netflix, right? That essentially kills the theatrical business altogether and in one fell swoop, right? So they are looking at something different. So let's see what happens there. Very, very interesting. Very nice. Speaking of geopolitics, not slowing down, folks. In addition to Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, right? Japan, China. There's another conflict, Pakistan, Afghanistan, right? There is Thai and Cambodia, Thailand and Cambodian clash, which has erupted again. A landmine essentially blew up, and it has led to initiation of skirmishes across the border. Now, this is the same set of countries which essentially became peaceful after Mr. Trump came along and he said that you've got to be peaceful, and he very proudly made those two leaders, world leaders, country leaders, shake hands. They've come back to the fighting area, folks. So that's what's happening. Very weird situation. In all of those things, you know what happens. You know what happens, right? You know how to deal with that situation, how to hedge yourself against all that risk. You know it, right? We've talked about this. Tell me, what is the way to deal with all that geopolitical noise? How does that help you? What do you do in order to hedge yourself against very weird situations which might or might not screw everything as far as the global economy is considered? Speaking of global economy, folks, gold hedge, says Mr. Abhishek Sharma. You're so right. Sona, Sona, says Mr. Tishar Tiwari. Sona is a very, it reminds me of मुझे दो चीज़ पसंद है, सोना और सोना के साथ सोना. That was Ajit, right? In one of the old movies. So I don't know which one is Mr. Tushar Tiwari referring to right now, but something tells me that he could go either way. Moving on, folks. Dr. Michael Burry is on fire. He's literally on fire when it comes to, he has come out with a 50-page analysis on Freddie and Fannie Mac, right? The insurance guys. Very, very important company for the American economy. They are basically the underwriters for the housing play, something of that sort. And he has pointed out that it's uncanny how the market still stands despite some financial impropriety at the chief at Fannie and Freddie. So it's very weird, and he's obviously his everything is sort of becoming clearer and clearer as the day goes by, right? He says, where are the receipts on the 6 million Nvidia GPUs, right? Where are the receipts? Need pics and receipts, he said, which was just amazing. So I'll just tell you what essentially he pointed out as the thesis, right? So he says, calling for pics and proof of Nvidia's GPUs being warehoused in mass quantities in the US but also overseas. Some have reached out to me already and it is getting interesting, but I need a little more, right? So everybody is ganging up and it looks very fragile. However, Nvidia stock isn't really moving uh, too badly now. It's up 1.73%. So a lot of good news there. Speaking of stocks, folks, Indian stock market fell yesterday. If you noticed, Indian stock market essentially went down by a lot, right? Just went down by a serious lot, and it was in relation to what's going to happen in the Wednesday meeting of the Fed, right? And also the rate cut that RBI did. So if you remember, I told you that this particular rate cut might not be good for the stability of the markets, of the banking sector, and so on and so forth. And I was of the view that because it's not going to be that positive, at least instantaneously, there are chances that RBI won't go for it. You remember that? And when that rate cut was announced, essentially, and then soon after, the market essentially uh, pulled back. So let's see what happens to the Indian market for now. Brokerages and the research companies are saying that there's scope for another rate cut, 0.25%, which would bring down the RBI interest rate to essentially 5%, right? Which is very, very interesting. That's a very healthy rate. But stabilization of everything will take time. As the rate cut happens, the banks will get hurt, right? There's going to be liquidity problems, there's going to be bond repricing problems, and so on and so forth, and all of those things. But overall, because the inflation is benign, because there are so many, uh, you know, uh, there's such economic activity. We are looking at 8.7% growth, despite some signals that are suggesting counter news, right? Despite so many things happening, it becomes it's a good news in the long term, right? So let's call it that. And everything awaits what happens with the US India deal, right? Now, India has sort of sorted out the domestic consumption play, private capex play. Now, what it needs is some firepower when it comes to the export uh, situation, right? And that firepower will be provided by India's largest trading ally, which is US. So let's see what happens there, right? Moving on, folks. There is a lot of rigmarole going on when it comes to the Indigo saga. Right now, it's more of a fog of war situation, right? Fog of war. Whenever there is a fog of war, uh, you should never trust the news, right? Whatever happens, nobody knows what happens, is the truth. So, just yesterday, there was a hit piece essentially on the minister, right, Mr. Naidu. You remember that? We discussed how people blamed him, how he's a softie, he's not really a very brass tacks metals guy. You know, he's very soft hearted, very calm and composed, depends much on bureaucrats and so on and so forth, right? The airlines took him for a ride and so on. He's come back, he says strict action if Indigo proved at fault, and there's going to be an example for the airline industry, he says. Now, that is obviously much of a rhetorical statement. What example can you give, right? Indigo has a lot of chips right now, but this essentially complicates the situation. Just as I was telling you, that people are saying that, like the authorities, that DGCA, the government, had this long coming. They did an extension from June to November. They were supposed to give it, and what they're claiming is Indigo deliberately misled them, right? And everybody's saying, how could Indigo have deliberately misled you when there is a shortfall of 63 captains, right? So how did you not catch it? And they say we caught it and we advised them and they did nothing. and what could we have done if they didn't follow the advice. So that is the core argument, that what could we have done if they didn't follow the directive, right? Could we have penalized them before things went wrong? Could we have proactively penalize those guys, right? We can only penalize in case there's something wrong, right? But what could have been the mechanism is the debate, and that's what's going on. I don't know whose side you're on. I was very clear, because we have been discussing since 6 months, more than 6 months, about pilot rest norms. So we didn't know, we didn't find it in the news that November 1 is going to hit it, right? How did Indigo find it so difficult to set everything up? And then obviously the consequential question is, how did DGCA not really do anything? To which DGCA says, what could we have done? Did you want us to hang these guys upside down, right? Practice some inversion with them? Some plain old Mr. Dipender Goyal inversion for longevity? What did you want us to do? So, on inquiry ongoing, SC takes notice of serious matter, but no urgent hearing. So, SC states serious matter. It is a serious matter, but no urgent hearing. The government is doing it. Government action, right? Indigo has sought some time to respond to DGCA show cause notice. It said finding reasons for the crisis was taking time because of the scale of operations. It is definitely Indigo, and there should not be any doubt about it. But, people, the natural course, whenever anything wrong happens in, anything, the natural course, which is also the nice way to go about it, is to blame the babus, right? Is to blame the bureaucracy. But you should always look at every case individually. And if you look at this particular case, right, at least it is on paper that everything was supposed to happen, right? So you've got to, blame the private parties as well, right? Moving on, folks. Auto companies revved up year-end discount party, slew of offers aimed at reviving sales of eco-friendly vehicles. Indigo is trading cost efficiency for passenger safety, says Mr. Tushar Tiwari, right? Yeah, and they actually pushed the envelope. They were like, let's see what you can do about it, right? Because our brand equity is unmatchable, our reliability history is unmatchable. There is no airline which can compete with us. Air India is in doldrums. SpiceJet is barely surviving. Akasa doesn't have roots, it's too new. Nobody can touch us, right? So let's see what you can do. So that's what's happening. Moving on from that story, folks, auto companies are looking at a slowdown when it comes to EV sales. Did you know that? Did you know that, folks? Let me take a sip. How was the simultaneous sip today, folks? Did you like it? Did you like it? Anyway, the auto companies are finding out that in November, right? November numbers only. Year long, if you calculate the numbers, you'll see EVs are about 4.4% of the total auto composition, the market composition. The November number was about 3.3%. 3.3%. Not very healthy. Not very healthy, right? What do you think about that, folks? Are EVs plateauing in India already? Now, EVs have already plateaued in Europe, in America, in China, right? But China, it plateaued after reaching about 40%, more than 40%. Europe as well, right? It's not taking over. They reached, Europe penetration is about 20 to 35%. Let me check. Europe EV cars market share, right? It's 19%. Yeah. So Europe's EV market share is around 19%. China is even higher. Let me check China, folks. 48%. Yeah, I was right. India is at 4.4%, and it's already showing signs of plateauing. How does that feel? How does that feel, folks? Are you happy about it? Right? So they are basically trying to rev it up, right, with discounts, with exchange offers. Many reasons for it. EVs don't have a good resale value in the country right now, and that makes a buying choice very difficult, right? If there's no resale value, then of course there is range anxiety, there is reliability issue, and EV is only as good as uh, uh, till the time it's only good till the time it actually reaches the service station. Because if your EV essentially has to go to the service station, then you're very unlucky, then you're an unlucky man. Right? Then it becomes a hemorrhoid. So that is what's going on with the EV play. Adoption remains low. A lot of customer incentives lined up to boost the industry. That's what's going on. I'm sorry for my voice today, folks. Is it too inconvenient? I sound like a frog. My voice is not getting better. It's been 15 days, over 15 days, that I have been struggling with my voice. I guess Delhi has really ruined my voice, right? Though I hope not irreparably. I'm fine otherwise, but it's just that my voice is hurt. Electronics companies import bill has surged, right? If you look at nearly a dozen electronic companies, Apple, Samsung, and so on and so forth, imported over 1.21 lakh crore. 1.21 lakh crore. 1.21 lakh crore is what? Somewhere around $15 billion, right? Somewhere around 13 to $15 billion. That's the import bill. That has grown, right? 13% rise. Reverse the first year declining, seen a year earlier. So there was a decline a year earlier, but now it's back. 13% rise. To be fair, right? This particular play, the Make in India initiative was to curb the finished good imports, which has obviously happened. But when they thought about finished good imports stopping, they were hoping to not have an import bill component rise, which is right now the case. So let's see what ECMS, the Electronic Component Manufacturing Scheme, essentially does, right? Would it move the needle? That's very important. Right now, if you look at the numbers, 13% rise. Imports as a percentage of revenue has still declined. So while the imports are rising, the export value of the country is rising. It's a super linear relationship. So it's not as if the imports of components are rising linearly, just as the exports of the finished products from India are rising. That's not the case. So it is still the imports are sublinear, the exports are super linear. That means there is some value addition happening, right? It's just that it is still a very big number, very, very big number, right? At Apple India, imports as a percentage of sales slipped to 23%, right? Uh, from 25% in FY24, 60% in 21. And for Samsung, it fell 60% last fiscal from 67%. So Samsung India still imports a lot of high value components. LG, Blue Star, and so on and so forth. Blue Star essentially 16% from 25. LG is 56%, improving 2.2 to 3% yearly, and so on and so forth. Contract manufacturers like Dixon, 6% from 59% in FY21, right? So a lot of action happening, but still, there's a long way to go when it comes to the imports of electronics component. Take good care, man, says Mr. Tushar Tiwari. And I'm trying. I guess it's it's the allergic reaction. It's not helping because the air is continuously bad when it comes to Delhi, and it's leading to a lot of problems for people who just come here. So a friend is here, and she said she cannot breathe, and her eyes are burning, and she just came from a different city and felt like she was dumped into a shithole, right? And that is the usual perception. So that's probably what's playing out here as well. The allergies are just not going away because it's continually so bad. I've started wearing masks and all, but I don't know what I can do beyond that, right? So let's move forward, folks. TRI has rejected the DOT's proposal to make it 5% of AGR for the Satcom players, right? It's going to be 4% of AGR. And they suggested 5%, 3 to 4%. They suggested, DOT suggested that 5% with 1% discount for hard terrain areas, right? That's where the value comes. They say not going to do it. Satcoms are going to be treated much more benevolently. So that's what's happening. Satcoms, great stuff. Good news, a lot of good news coming along. So let's see what happens there. Let's move on. A lot of action happening on the political front. A lot of action, winter session going on. How do these netas adjust to this particular reality? Does anybody wonder? How are these people, you know, binding it out? They are in Delhi, right? They're working in Delhi. How are these people able to manage with the Delhi pollution? That's something to wonder. Maybe they just clean the central secretariat area, Lutyens area so well, right, that the rest of the city can still be a shithole and nobody would notice. But whatever it is, it's bloody pathetic. Anyway, moving on, folks. Tata eyes Indian Air Force MTA contract. MTA is basically the medium transport aircraft, right? They're going to set up an MRO. MRO is a maintenance, repair, and overhaul facility. It's going to be C-130J aircraft to come up in Bangalore. Tata already builds C-95 transport aircrafts. So good news for Tata, good news for defense. A lot of action happening. I'm very excited to see what happens in the drone front, right? That is where the money is for everybody. For everybody. I don't know why the government is not understanding. Why is it not paying heed to the entire drone revolution? No good news there for now. Just 90 million. Some drone fund. 90 million. That's a joke, right? That is a joke. They've got to actually go very, very high on that particular play. But maybe they're not being able to because there is no ecosystem, right? Despite companies like Idea Forge, they make drones, right? Despite all of those companies, there is no way to deploy money. Sometimes when you have money, even that doesn't solve any problem because there's no way to park that money, right? Maybe that's what's happening when it comes to Indian drone manufacturing play, but I hope it gets sorted out soon. Moving on. Holy fuck. Oh, I'm sorry. Holy shit. Can you really hear me? Can you understand me? Because I feel, uh, my voice is essentially very, must be illegible. Is it okay? Are you having, this is probably why we don't have a lot of people today because it's so hard to listen to me, right? I apologize for that, folks. It's not my fault. Not my fault. Moving on. After Indigo crisis, railways loco pilots, those are basically the train drivers, loco pilots, seek a work hour cap. They want a 16-hour rest, 6-hour capped daily, work schedule, and so on and so forth. They say we are treated unfairly, partially. The rest norms are pretty good when it comes to the airlines industry, but railways has a similar pressure line, a higher stakes. More people use the railways, of course, and everything. Freight costs are railways are about, how much is the freight cost? God, I forgot. $2 to $66 per kilometer per metric ton, right? That was the cost difference. 1.9 bucks for railways per kilometer per ton, and $66 on the flights. So they say that we are equally valuable. All India Loco Running Staff Association calls for daily work limit of 6 hours, predictable 16-hour rest, and a weekly off, and so on and so forth. So that's what they're claiming. The time track play. Uh, do you think it's gonna be legible? One of the reasons why loco pilots are not treated as fairly as airline pilots also make a lot of money as compared to the loco pilots, right? Because airlines as an industry is much more greener than railways is majorly a government operation, a loss making operation, a subsidized operation which has no way to make money, right? They are trying to boost the NRE revenue, the non-railway revenue, right? That's what they're trying. But at the moment, railways is just what it is, a government scheme. So let's see how this particular play pans out, right? Improved working conditions. Also, an airline pilot is usually cooler than a loco pilot, right? they're they're considered very attractive. They attract a lot of female attention as well. I don't think that happens to the loco pilots. Is that a part of their ask? When it comes to partiality and fair working ask, right? Is that what they're looking at? That we should be equal to the airline pilot. We need equal female attention, right? If I were in their shoes, I would have, one of the points would have been that. But that's just me. I might be wrong about that. You can you can tell me what you think about that. Moving on, folks. A lot of things happening when it comes to solar. PM Surya Ghar. A panel says states key to Surya Ghar project. It's a solar play, right? Government building capacity, bouldering, monitoring, and investigations of transactions related to virtual digital assets (VDA), right? 4,190 crores attached in seats for the VDA play. So that's what's happening. There is also a news when it comes to government really moving up as far as its seizing of black money is considered. So that is an interesting development. Let's see. Moving on, folks. Speaking of, we talked about the car business, the electric vehicles business. The two-wheeler business has shown a decline in when it comes to November, right, which is surprising. So a lot of people are saying that this is because they did so well in the preceding months, right? That these particular months, the November month decline is really not that particular that hard a fall, right? Auto sales grow in low single digits in November, but year on year industry growth crosses 2%, which is nothing, right? So lower two-wheeler sales dented India's automotive industry growth to low single digits increase in November compared to year earlier. So if you look at cars, they grew 20%, commercial vehicles 20%, tractors 57%. Uh, the low two-wheelers grew just 2%, which is not good at all, of course. Let me look at the Hero stock right now. Hero Motorcorp stock must not be doing well. Fell 3.3 yesterday. 2.3. Oh, in the last month it's up 15%. 6 months 41%. Year to date 47%. 1 year 33%. Wow, that is unexpected. So it's basically there. Hero is being able to beat the sector. Interesting. Interesting. But overall, the sector looks a little bleak in comparison. So, not a bad growth. Last year, Diwali was in November, I guess. So, not a bad growth, says Mr. Rajat Mittal. So, Hero, not not in a bad spot at all, despite the overall sectoral lackadaisical, lackluster performance. But it's not bad, as Mr. Rajat Mittal suggests, my brother, that last year, November was Diwali. So maybe the preceding months of this particular year took it up. If you need numbers when it comes to there, the industry grows 2.1% in November. Diwali and Dhanteras fell towards the end of October in 2024, unlike November 2024 when Diwali and Dhanteras fell. So, yeah, that's what's going on, folks. A slow pickup lane, but I'm surprised at Hero's growth. Hero has been losing ground very significantly, right? It also has some governance concerns. There were a few raids here and there, right? TVS and Bajaj have cumulatively taken the shine of Hero. Most of the money that is being made in the two-wheeler business in the premium space, where Hero does not have a lot of ground, the EV space has been captured by TVS and Bajaj yet again. Hero has somewhat hedged that with its participation in Ather, but its own line is not really doing it. So maybe future has some good news in store, and the stock is pricing that in. Let's see. Slimmer price tag helps Wegovy sales gain weight. Sales up 70% of the Wegovy, the semaglutide weight loss drug, for 70% up. Right? Industry executives see further price cuts in waist loss drugs after Ozempic launch. That's gonna happen somewhere around March, April. Right? A lot of good news in store when it comes to uh, the weight loss drugs and the entire industry. Second order of which are going to be very hard to contemplate, right? The fast food industry should fall, the alcohol industry should fall. Uh, when fast food industry falls, packaged food industry should also face some dents, right? Similar profile, power users. So let's see what happens there. In terms of volume, Novo Nordisk sold 45,000 units of pre-filled syringes of Wegovy in November after the price cut, compared with 26,000 in October, right? So that's what's going on. A lot of money. Ozempic may come at a price 10% cheaper than Wegovy. Uh, Wegovy shares sales stood at 12 crore in November, up from 9 crore a month ago. Manjaro at 108 crore versus 100 crore in October, and so on and so forth. So this market is going to grow 10x in just the next 2 years. Very, very interesting. Let's see how that plays out. We are tracking Shelly Engineering. Ever since we started talking about this, it's been almost 6 months. Shelly has has grown up by somewhere 60%. So let's see what happens to that. Nothing, not a stock recommendation. Speaking of stock recommendations, folks, uh, SEBI is cracking down on RBI, finfluencers, right? Apparently, there was a viral video of Mr. Avdut Sate, which Mr. Tushar Tiwari told was like a 500 crore, 600 crore guy. He sold stocks and some of them, stock tips and so on and so forth, and very unvalidated and dubious and so on and so forth. So that's what's going on. So, the finfluencers will have to be very, very careful when it comes to the stock recommendations. The past track record can be hard to sell without due clarification. So let's see what happens there. Very weird situations. we only we cover a very, very vast, uh, you know expansive way of looking at things. So thankfully we shouldn't be. And basically, who's really watching? Like 15 60 people in a day, right? That's not a lot of people anyway. Moving on, folks. Lawyers make money, as we always say. That's our catchphrase. Lawyers make money. We've been talking about that a lot. Lawyers sit pretty as lenders come hunting. Banks, NBFCs ramp up legal hires amid regulatory checks, rising deal flows, and compliance demands. So, industry veterans say rush to secure top tier legal talent reflects a structural shift in the banking and insurance and NBFC play because of how this whole thing is turning out to be, right? Banking financial sector is making high profile legal hires as institutions respond to intensified regulatory scrutiny, rising deal flows, and increasingly complex compliance demands. So, Nifty 500 companies spent over 62,000 crores in legal expenses in FY25. Finance sector spent 4,600 crores. So that's what's going on. 62,000 crores. Now, not all of that 62,000 crores is going to the lawyers. When it comes to legal expense, the whole litigation payments must also be a part of that, right? So litigation payments are not what lawyers earn, but still lawyers make money, right? Moving on, folks. Speaking of the AQI, we talked about AQI. Respiratory drugs sales have peaked in November. No surprise there. Bunch of assholes. Not the drug sellers, of course, but the people responsible for these diseases, running in such a cyclical way. Larsen and Toubro consolidating realty business. Move to help L&T Properties tap India's housing property growth. Let's see what happens there. Mr. Virat Kohli selling 1/8 stake to Agilas. Blystall's making company for 40 crores. Some money dealings of very, very big influencers. Moving on. Starlink looks like it could be nothing, but it had on its website pricing of Indian products, right? It basically said that Indian products would be priced at about 20% lower, right? There was this 8.6 thousand rupee per month, and then there's $337 for the fixing of it, right? So $95, 20% cheaper than US, but almost double the price in markets like Brazil, in India, and Indonesia. So Brazil and Indonesia, Brazil has a per capita income of about $6,000, if I'm not wrong. Let me check. Brazil per capita income, $10,000. It was 6,000 long ago, right? India has a per capita income of $2,800. Despite that, Indian price was higher than Brazil. What was Starlink thinking, right? $95, almost double the price in Brazil and Indonesia. That's not cool. And hardware terminal was $377, 34,000 bucks. Now that price has been taken down by Starlink from the website. So maybe a new pricing norm will come and they will be much cheaper. They have to be much cheaper. Look at the per capita play, man. Of course, there are a lot of factors at play other than per capita, but you cannot just ignore it, right? That'll be very, very weird. That'll be just a travesty. Moving on, folks. A lot of action happening and DPDP, right? Government plan on data fiduciary tag leaves businesses vary. Businesses are always vary, should be vary when it comes to overload of compliances. So experts call for greater clarity to help them prepare for the new compliance. Well, that is okay. And you know who's gonna make money while this DPDP thing works out? Who's gonna make money, folks? Can you guess? Hint, we've talked about this. Can you guess, folks? With this whole DPDP implementation and the company runs on it, right? What do you think? Who's gonna make money? Nobody? We know about this. This is our catchphrase, right? Lawyers. Mr. Sumanth Kumar, because there's going to be so much of to and fro there. There's going to be a suit, counter suit, and so on and so forth. A lot of it. Uh, uh, Asia CEO of Match Group. Match Group runs Tinder, Hinge, OkCupid. The Asia CEO says AI is no match for human connection. Why is she saying that? Because the whole AI companion play, which is basically, uh, you know, people spending time with AI girlfriends and so on and so forth, that's really happening. And that's obviously worrying Match Group, which is a major corporation when it comes to this industry. It's a pioneering company. Match Group has an annual revenue of $3.5 billion. $3.5 billion. Did you know? Tinder, OkCupid, Hinge. Now they've come out with something called the League, which is an invite-only dating app. It is more of a community experience when it comes to dating, and it has events and it has an invite-only thing which gets LinkedIn authorization. So they check your LinkedIn profile and so on and so forth. A lot of vetting that goes. But think about it. How weird is dating as a community? Do you see the problem here? Dating as a community? Or am I just being obtuse? Do you understand the problem with dating as a community? Dating and community should not go together. Why? Because let's say a guy is meeting a girl, and then the guy meets another girl, right? And then he meets another girl, which is exactly what happens, right? Or same case, the girl meets a guy, and then she meets another guy, and all of them romantically, right? I mean, it could be temporary, it could be long term, it could be short term, whatever it is. It could be a fling, it could be a hookup, whatever. But she meets a guy, she meets another guy, she meets another guy, okay? And now these six people meet together. Is it not awkward, folks? Am I the only guy who thinks this is awkward? I mean, personally, I don't think dating and community events are a good idea. But who knows, man? Who knows? Right? They're competing with Bumble. Bumble's stock is really in the toilet, right? A lot of problems when it comes to the Bumble stock play. Let me check the Bumble stock. It went public and it lost almost like 70% of all its value, I guess. Right? That's what's happening to Bumble. Let me check. Bumble stock. Bumble stock, 95% down from its peak, man. It debuted on 75 and it's now at $3.64. Holy shit. Holy. It's not just holy, HOLY. It's like a kung fu master, HOLEE. Holy shit. It has lost 90%, 95% of its value. Bumble. Let me check the Match Group stock as well. If Match Group is listed, I don't think Match Group is listed. Maybe it is. It is. Match Group stock. How it is doing? It is also 76%, 78% down. Whew. My God. 78% down. A year, 2.2% up. My God. Dating apps are really getting hammered. Really getting hammered. Precise, because, people must have figured out that dating and community is not a good idea. Moving on, folks. Oh, man. Community. The guy is getting embarrassed. Moving on. Indigo stock fell 16%, 38,298 crores of market value eroded. That's not the end, my friend. I think there is more on way, right? As discussed. So I guess somebody was saying in the comment section that their stock just went down by 10%. And I said, that's only the beginning, right? Because a lot of things are yet to come. So let's see how that pans out. For now, 16%. Analyst views. Moving on, folks. NefroCare is going public. NefroCare is a chain for dialysis. God forbid anybody. I hope everybody stays away from the company and its services. But it's the largest dialysis services provider in Asia, right? Started promoting, reporting profits. It is at a revenue stage of 755 crores, right? 755 crores, right? Margins cannot say because it just reported profits, right? Net profit of 61 crores, 67 crores in FY25, not predictable profits, but 67, right? And its market cap, implied market cap, is about 4,500 crores, 4,600 crores. So the revenue multiple is about 6, around that, which is very standard. Price to earnings slightly, also very standard, by the way. Price to earnings is essentially 69, right? And the universe range is about 23 to 73. So fairly valued, I guess. Let's see what happens to this particular stock. Moving on, folks. Market expects one more rate cut. We've talked about that. General insurers log a premium in November. Private multi-insurers and health cover providers, 35% growth, outpacing PSUs. Can you guess why? Because motor sales increased, right? Motor sales increased. Moving on. Piramal Finance eyes Kirtana for foray into gold loan. Kirtana, as discussed, is Madam Padmaja Reddy's venture. She's quite a legend in the finance play. She started Spandan Murthy, the company, right? But she was ousted as its chief. She didn't found, but she did actually found Spurti, Spandan Spurti Financial, and then she was ousted from her company, and then she started Kirtana. So firstly, it wasn't microfinance, but the microfinance play went to the toilet, right? And she said she has structurally no hope from microfinance, so she quickly, very smartly pivoted to the gold loan play. She has somewhere around 3,200 crores worth gold loans. She says the gold loan book may go up to 5,000 crores. About the Piramal takeover, she says she's not gonna let it happen. She doesn't want to get acquired. She'll only be going public and will be diluting a minority stake. So let's see what happens there. But Piramals are huge. They've been in consideration for that. They're not commenting, but they are in consideration. Mr. Ajay Piramal just turned 70, by the way. My friend told me that Pratham, the founder of Pratham, Madam Rukmani Banerjee, gave a very sweet gift to Mr. Piramal. It was 70 blocks, and all those paintings were done by children. So 70 paintings and a carpet kind of a thing. Beautiful, right? Just the thought of it is so beautiful. Every painting done by a kid. Very nice. Gross loan portfolio at 4,200 crores. Current portfolio 3,250 crores. 5,000 IPO triggered threshold, and so on and so forth. Piramal Finance is huge, of course. 91,500 crore in AUM, 55% in housing, and loans against property. So they want to go gold, of course. Gold loan is the play. Everybody's going towards gold loan because gold is rising and gold looks very stable in whatever, considering whatever is happening in the world, right? Moving on, folks. A lot of companies planning hiring in March quarter. Hiring sentiment 28 pp higher than global peers for expansion, tech advancements, and so on and so forth. Moving on. Tata Electronics may be looking at manufacturing Intel's products for India. Company exploring manufacturing packaging of Intel products at Fab and OSAT facilities. Fab is the fabrication plant. OSAT is the assembly, testing, and so on and so forth. What is it? Outsourcing uh, assembly testing, OSAT full form. I always forget. Outsourced semiconductor assembly and testing unit, right? So this is what's going to happen. Uh, when such a unit is placed, you need a lot of vendors to sort of hedge the risk, right? A lot of clients to hedge the risk. That's what Tata is doing. No surprise there. Very, very good news for uh, Sanand and Dholera, right? And with that, good news, folks. We come to the end of 188th episode of Thinker's Frequency, our daily mental workout, our daily dose of insights and analysis which don't lead to paralysis. Right before we punch in, it's 9:18. We should punch in anytime. I wish you a beautiful day personally and professionally. I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time, hopefully. Right? Viewers of Thinkers Frequency, take care of the patrons program, please. Right? That's very necessary to keep the show running. And if we want the show to keep running, of course. And it's always lovely. I hope you had fun. I hope this added a lot of value to you. I definitely learned a lot. Today was a dull day when it comes to audience participation. Not many people, not many messages, not very nice. But I don't know what's the reason for it. I'll hypothesize. I should thank Mr. Abhishek Sharma, Mr. Tushar Tiwari, Mr. Rajat Mittal, and Mr. Sumanth Kumar. Take care and have a nice day. Bye bye.